In the hustle and bustle of life, where demands seem to pull us in every direction, finding a moment of true rest can feel like an elusive dream. The weight of responsibilities, expectations, and uncertainties can burden our hearts and minds, leaving us weary and in need of solace. In the midst of this chaos, there exists a timeless invitation, a whisper of comfort and reassurance that resonates through the ages. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. These simple yet profound words spoken by Jesus hold within them a promise that transcends the limitations of time and space. They invite us into a sacred pause, a moment of surrender where we can lay down our burdens and find true rest for our souls. As we meditate on these words, let us first reflect on the context in which they were spoken. Jesus addressed these words to a crowd who were burdened not only by the weight of their daily struggles, but also by the heavy yoke of religious legalism imposed upon them by the religious leaders of their time. They were striving to meet the impossible standards set by human tradition, yet finding themselves constantly falling short. In the midst of their weariness and disillusionment, Jesus extends an invitation, a call to come to Him. It is an invitation not based on performance or merit, but rooted in love and grace. He beckons to those who are weary and burdened, offering them rest, a rest that goes beyond physical relaxation to penetrate the depths of the soul. To truly understand the depth of this invitation, we must grasp the significance of coming to Jesus. It is an act of humility and trust, a recognition of our own limitations, and a willingness to relinquish control. Coming to Jesus requires us to release the burdens we have been carrying, whether they be worries, fears, regrets, or doubts, and to place them into His capable hands. But why does Jesus offer rest? What is the nature of this rest that He promises? It is not merely the absence of toil or struggle, but a rest that comes from being in His presence, a rest that brings peace, comfort, and renewal to the weary soul. It is a rest that transcends circumstances, for it is found in Him who is unchanging and eternal. In a world that constantly demands our attention and drains our energy, finding rest in Jesus can seem counterintuitive. Yet, it is in the moments of stillness and surrender that we encounter His presence most intimately. It is in those moments that His peace, which surpasses all understanding, envelops us and brings restoration to our weary hearts. However, coming to Jesus does not mean that our burdens magically disappear or that we are exempt from the trials of life. Rather, it means that we no longer bear them alone. Jesus invites us to take His yoke upon us, a yoke that is easy and a burden that is light. This is not to say that life will be without challenges, but rather that we face them in partnership with Him. The imagery of the yoke is significant. In biblical times, a yoke was a wooden frame used to join two oxen together for the purpose of pulling a plow or It was a symbol of shared labor and partnership. When Jesus invites us to take his yoke upon us, he is offering to walk alongside us, sharing in our struggles and guiding us through life's journey. But how do we take his yoke upon us? It begins with a surrender of our will to his, a willingness to align our lives with his purposes and plans. It involves submitting to his authority and trusting in his wisdom, even when we do not understand. Taking his yoke upon us requires humility, obedience, and a willingness to follow wherever he leads. As we take his yoke upon us and learn from him, we discover that his yoke is indeed easy and his burden is light. It is not a burden of legalism or performance, but of love and grace. It is a burden that lifts us up rather than weighs us down, for it is born out of his unconditional love for us. In learning from Jesus, we find rest for our souls, not just temporary relief, but a deep and abiding rest that sustains us through life's trials and tribulations. It is a rest that empowers us to face each day with courage and hope, knowing that we are held securely in his unfailing love. As we meditate on Matthew 11:28, let us respond to Jesus' invitation with open hearts and willing spirits. Let us come to him with our burdens, knowing that he is faithful to give us rest. And as we take his yoke upon us and learn from him, may we experience the true and lasting rest that only he can provide. In conclusion, Matthew 11:28 is an invitation to all who are weary and burdened, a promise of rest for our souls found in Jesus Christ. It is an invitation to come, to surrender, and to find peace in his presence. May we heed his call and find rest for our weary souls today and always.